To show my appreciation for your support. Thank you, DJs. I came in the door, dripped in Balance.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the ZayMoolaSportsPodcast. I'm your host, Isaiah, and the Boston Celtics made another big-time trade on yesterday as they traded Kristaps Porzingis to the Atlanta Hawks in exchange for Georges Niang in the second-round pick. And the Brooklyn Nets were also a part of this deal as they received Terrence Mann and the 22nd overall pick via the Atlanta Hawks. So let's get into this from the Celtics side of things, and then we'll discuss what this means for the Hawks and Brooklyn Nets. So for the Celtics, y'all, and I stated this in my Drew Holiday video on yesterday, but we knew that the Celtics were going to make some very difficult decisions this offseason. And once Jason Tatum tore his Achilles, there was no way in the world that they were going to pay nearly $500 to a team that had absolutely zero chance of competing and winning the championship. They were just never going to do this. I know some people thought that there was a chance that the Celtics, could keep this team together, could keep this core together, but y'all, they were never going to do this because we know now that if you're a second April team, the NBA absolutely handicaps the moves that you can make, the picks that you could trade in the future to try to improve your team. So they were going to do whatever it took to get out of that second April to save a lot of luxury tax, which they did, y'all, because with the Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis trade, not only did they get out of the second April, but they also saved nearly $180 million in tax penalties. So now they really giving themselves a lot of options, a lot of flexibility. And it makes this the players that they traded. They traded away Drew Holiday, who's still really good, but he's older, on the blow the contract. And then Kristaps Porzingis, who, when he's healthy, is one of the better centers in the league because of his three-point shooting and because of his size and because of his impressive defensive abilities and his shot blocking ability. But, y'all, the problem is Kristaps Porzingis is very injury-prone, and he looked absolutely horrible in the playoffs. I mean, Kristaps Porzingis was basically unplayable because he just wasn't shooting the ball well. He wasn't moving on the floor well at all. I mean, he looked very slow, looked like he was running quicksand. And so the Celtics decided, hey, these are the two guys we should move off. I thought there was a chance that they could potentially trade a Derek White, but the fact that they are now going to be able to keep him, I think is key because we know Derek White is one of the best two-way players in the league, a great shooter, a great defender. And I think he's one of those guys that the Celtics want to keep around for the long term. So, yeah, this was difficult. That their return was not great, y'all. I mean, you get Georges Niang. Georges Niang, he's a solid three-point shooter. He's a solid role player, but obviously he's not the player that Kristaps Porzingis is when Kristaps Porzingis is healthy and playing up to his max capability. But this was not about getting the best return, y'all, because we know there were probably better deals that the Celtics could have got, but they would have been taking back a lot of salary. This was a salary dump, a saving move. That's what it was. And I know a lot of Celtics fans probably don't like to hear that, but that's exactly what it was. And even the Drew Holiday, that was a salary dump as well because, Anthony Simons only has 1 year left on his deal. So when you look at what they got for Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis, y'all, it's Anthony Simons, it's Georges Niang, and it's a second round pick. Yes, that's not great, but they had to do this because now this gives them flexibility to be able to try to construct a championship roster. So that way, when Jason Tatum comes back, they'll have a chance to compete for more championships. And this is why they did this, because they knew without Jason Tatum, if they kept this team together, they were just going to be stuck at purgatory. So instead of doing that, y'all, this is going to be a gap year for them. The Celtics, honestly, right now, probably not going to be a playoff team. And if they are a playoff team, they're going to probably be, fighting for a play-in spot. But this gives them options to construct their roster. They're no longer just, kind of limited to having the players that they have on their roster being Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis. Now they actually have options to where if they want to go out and make another trade, they can do that. If they want to be able to bring in some free agents to get them a chance to compete next year, they can do that. If they just want to be absolutely bad next year, now they can do that. So again, I love this trade from that standpoint. Obviously, I mean, they're going to miss Kristaps Porzingis. He was very huge for them during their championship run last season. But again, y'all, like I said, he's very injury prone and he only has 1 year left on his deal. So I think this was very important for the Celtics to go off and move off from him, because I don't think they were going to be able to re-sign him next year. So instead of just losing for nothing, at least you get a solid role player in Georges Niang and a second round pick, y'all. So I get the Celtics, I give them a grade of a B for this trade. The only reason I don't cannot give them a higher grade is because the return was, underwhelming, and I thought that they could at least maybe get a couple of second-round picks or maybe even a first-round pick, but, only getting one second-round pick and getting Georges Niang, not the best. But again, this was a salary-saving move, so I get him a B. And now let's get to what this means for the Atlanta Hawks, y'all. The Atlanta Hawks are signaling to us that they are trying to compete in 2026. The 25-26 season, I should say. That's what this means. They feel like now having the starting five of Trae Young, Dyson Daniels, Zachary Rizzo-Say, Jalen Johnson, and Kristaps Porzingis gives them a chance to seriously compete in the Eastern Conference, which I don't hate that idea because right now the Eastern Conference is wide open since, Jason Tatum's going to be out next year and Tyrese Halliburton is going to be out next year. So right now, you have the Cavaliers, you have the Magic. The Pacers are still going to be, good without Tyrese Halliburton, but they're not going to be a championship contender without him. So the Eastern Conference is wide open, and so the Atlanta Hawks feel like that they have a chance to, do some big-time things right now since the East is going to be a little bit weaker than what it was this past season. So I don't hate it from that perspective. They didn't give up a lot. All they gave up was a second-round pick in Georges Niang to get Kristaps Porzingis. And now when you look at their starting five and their bench, they have a pretty complete roster. I think they need to go out and get another ball handler that can play behind Trae Young. But, y'all, their defense, which was, pretty solid last year, is going to be even better as long as Kristaps Porzingis can stay healthy because now you have him, Dyson Daniels, Zachary Rizzo-Say, Jalen Johnson, and Onyeka Okongwu. So that is a strong collection of really versatile defenders. And then Kristaps Porzingis will get them some much-needed shooting in their starting lineup because although Dyson Daniels, Jalen Johnson, and Zachary Rizzo-Say are really good defenders, we know those three guys aren't the best shooters, even though I think Zachary Rizzo-Say has a chance to become a really good shooter a few years from now. But right now, none of those guys are really good shooters. But now you add a guy like Kristaps Porzingis, who's one of the best big man shooters in the NBA. So I like him from that perspective. Again, he's a really good defender. And he just gives them a lot more size. Outside of Trae Young, they have a big starting five. You got Dyson Daniels at 6'7", Zachary Rizzo-Say at 6'10", Jalen Johnson at 6'10", and then you got KP at 7'2". Very big starting lineup. So I love it from that perspective, y'all. But I think the risk to this is going to be, one, can KP stay healthy? And two, can they re-sign him to a long-term deal? Because he is going to be a free agent next year. But they also have to worry about Dyson Daniels and Jalen Johnson. And then, 2 years from now, they have to pay Zachary Rizzo-Say. And we know that the Atlanta Hawks, y'all, they have known to be a pretty cheap franchise, pretty cheap organization. I don't think they're willing to pay the luxury tax to keep Kristaps Porzingis on their team. So is this just a rental thing? Is this a 1 year thing? Or do they view him as being their center of the future? We shall see. But considering that, again, that they did not have to give up a lot to get him, I don't think it really matters. Even if he's only on the team for 1 year, like if they can seriously compete in the Eastern Conference, I think they'll take that. But I will say this, y'all, I would still be leery of this because I think they need to go out and add another center because I don't trust Kristaps Porzingis to stay healthy. So if I'm the Atlanta Hawks, I would not expect Kristaps Porzingis to even play 50 games. I would not expect him to play 50 games. Because of the recent injuries that he's had to go through, that he's had to deal with. So I still think they need to add another center, But this could definitely pay off if he stays healthy, man. I think the Hawks are probably going to be a top 4, top 5 seed in the Eastern Conference. So you have to like it, from that perspective, and you think they could have a shot to really compete in the Eastern Conference. So for them, I give them an A actually for this trade. And the reason I give them an A is because, again, this is really, low risk, high reward, because if Kristaps Porzingis stays healthy, he's going to play well for them. But if he's unable to stay healthy, y'all, if he, is not moving well on the floor, then there's going to be kind of a risk involved to it. But considering that he only has 1 more year left on his contract, I really like this. So they're not locked into him long term. If he doesn't play well, if he's injury prone, they can move off him. So that's why I gave him a grade of an A. And then for the Brooklyn Nets, we'll talk about them briefly. It's not a lot to discuss, but they received Terrence Mann and the 22nd pick in this draft. I don't think Terrence Mann is going to be on the Nets for very long because he's a very valuable player in this league. Good three-point shooter, good defender, good versatility. He can guard multiple positions. He can play multiple positions. So I expect them to trade him to a playoff contender. He might stay on the team, up until November or December, or he could get traded, during this offseason. I don't know. They could reroute him as soon as they just got him. But I don't expect him to be on this team long. But I like that they were able to get the 22nd pick in this draft because, as y'all know, this draft class is very deep. And I think at pick 22, they can still get a very impactful player, a potential starter down the road. So I like that for them. So in conclusion, I think this trade is going to benefit all teams. I think the Celtics now have a lot of flexibility about how they want to construct their roster moving forward. The Hawks added one of the best centers in the league, and as long as he can stay healthy, they're going to have a chance to compete in the East. And for the Brooklyn Nets, they were able to add a nice veteran piece in Terrence Mann that they could trade to get some additional draft capital, and they were also able to get the 22nd pick in this draft, which should be able to land them a very impactful player. So there I have it, man. This was my take on the Kristaps Porzingis trade. Remember, y'all, last good message. So what? Make sure you get your daily dose. Y'all know I'm an enemy, and I love y'all. God bless. Peace.